Welcome to a free preview of a two-day internet Kingian Nonviolence course sponsored by the Institute for Human Rights and Responsibilities. I'm David Jensen, Chair and founding trustee of the IHRR, who will serve as your host for the preview and introduction to this internet course. The IHRR was founded in 1978 along with two other founding trustees, Dr. Bernard Lafayette and Dr. James M. Kittleson. The purpose of this preview is to introduce the course, the senior faculty, and scope of concepts and skills you can determine so that you can determine whether you have sufficient interest in this educational material in order to warrant your attendance at a four-day residential program, or the Training of Trainers program, or the Advanced Course Leaders program. The senior faculty you are about to meet are Dr. Bernard Lafayette Jr., Captain Charles Alphen Sr., retired, and myself, David Jensen. The film footage in this presentation and the two-day internet course is largely from a three-day course we conducted for approximately 100 students, faculty, and staff from 7 high schools in Central Ohio. Some other footage from more recent seminars and courses conducted by the IHRR. We open this preview with 3 questions, and I respond in the following order, and we'll share some illustrations. The first question is, what is nonviolence? Some refer to it as non-violence. We refer to it as nonviolence, one word. In the first example, it seems to emphasize the non in the sense of no physical action against a person, as in non-violent crimes. In the second, which we emphasize as a noun, and a philosophy and a way of life. In non-violence, it can include apathy, negative peace, and reactive behavior. Our conception of nonviolence is proactive and focused on the ultimate goal of a reconciled world, winning over our opponents to become our future allies. In this two-day course, we provide definition and structure for understanding the application of nonviolence as both a strategy and a way of life.
The background for Martin Luther King and his thoughts and his philosophy. First of all, it's important for us to understand that Martin Luther King's philosophy was universal in its content, in its purpose, and in its foundation. Therefore, Martin Luther King's philosophy did not apply to a particular time in history, to a particular group of people, nor to a particular geography. It was universal in the sense that it transcended time and space. It was universal in the sense that his values applied to human beings no matter where they lived, no matter what philosophy they subscribed to, or their belief system, or their economic conditions, or economic values, and no less, of course, the color of their skin, or their ethnic identification, or cultural background. This is why Martin Luther King's birthday is celebrated all over the world. 122 cities in this world celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday as a national holiday in their countries, in their nations. But when we talk about nonviolence in terms of a philosophy, we're talking about a noun, the name of a philosophy. This is an adjective. Because we know many times we even talk about nonviolent crimes. And it seems like to me crime is pretty violent. Nonviolent criminals sounds like a contradiction. But what they mean is that a criminal might have stolen something without using a weapon or without threatening someone. is like the inside job in the bank where they take $1 out of everybody's bank account. Have you checked your bank account lately? It may not be a problem with your addition. It may mean that you have an additional withdrawal from your account. That's a nonviolent crime. Well, we don't really think about it as nonviolence. Nonviolence is not the opposite of violence. Many times we say, let's make a choice between violence or nonviolence. Well, the choice is like the difference between having polio, okay, or vaccine. Which one do you want? I mean, is that a real choice? Polio or vaccine? They're not the opposite. Instead of the antithesis, nonviolence is the antidote to violence. It's a cure for violence. They're not on equal footing. They're not opposite of each other. One is the panacea, the other is the problem. Violence cannot overcome violence. Only nonviolence can overcome violence. So Martin Luther King is saying here that we can learn this method and we can learn this strategy for solving problems in our own lives. And not only in our lives, but also in our society. And it has been proven over and over again once applied. Now there are some people who say, well, I tried nonviolence, it didn't work. So I had to resort to violence. See, we tried it for about 3 days. So now we're going to fight violently forever. I would say to that is like the logic of saying that if this building caught a fire and we got 3 buckets of water and we poured on it and then the building burned down, could we come to the conclusion that water does not put out fire? Well, we say that nonviolence does work. The question is, are you willing to work? Martin Luther King effected this, and he has a total strategy, which we'll be dealing with the next 2 days. So we say to you, let's prepare ourselves in our minds to re-examine some new ideas and some new thoughts. And the strength and the resources that we're talking about are already in you, because you have the capacity and you have the strength to love. Thank you.
The second question is, why Kingian nonviolence? The philosophy and strategies emphasized by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the movement he led have a specific set of values, values that are shared by all of the world's great religions and the realm of social ethics, responsibility, and civil society. In the many related modalities to address conflict and violence, there are many different interpretations, such as the terms peace, conflict resolution, arbitration, dispute resolution, regarding the goals, the methodology, and the values in each modality. We think we have to be clear about these issues when we present nonviolence as a strategy to address conflict and violence at every level of society. In fact, in Dr. King's second book, Strength to Love, he prefaced his 14th chapter, Paul's letter to American Christians, adapted from Paul's chapter in the New Testament to the Christians in Corinth. Dr. King stated, if the content of this epistle sounds more Kingian instead of Paulinian, attributed to my lack of complete objectivity rather than Paul's lack of clarity. We thought the word Kingian came from a good source. The third question that we raised in this preview and introduction is, what is nonviolent conflict reconciliation? Kingian nonviolence is a strategy and methodology to redirect the energy of a hurt sense of injustice and violation in a conflict from persons to conditions, thereby producing change in conditions and opening the opportunity of winning over opponents to become allies. Psalm 85, in referring to conflict, states that mercy and truth must kiss, and justice and peace must meet. And this is what justice and reconciliation produce in terms of the concept of forgiveness, one of the most empowering concepts we know. But this must be followed by as a result of a type of social surgery to remove tumors of racism, militarism, and poverty. But this must be followed with sutures and stitches to promote the healing. As you can learn in the 2-day course, this is a significant difference from the other modalities of peacemaking and conflict management.
Now, the thing that we say about nonviolence is that we are concerned with conflict reconciliation. And we're going to talk about reconciliation more this afternoon when we talk about the 6 steps. But right now, when we talk about reconciliation, we're talking about the space or the place in which truth, there's a drawing of Rosa Parks on page 37, 38 in your manual, where truth and mercy, where peace and justice interact and come together. And its nonviolence is distinctive because our goal is reconciliation. So all this stuff about the conflict, we have to keep in mind our goal is to bring about the reconciliation process. That justice and peace and mercy and truth come together and creates space, in our hearts and our head for the reconciliation process.